The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the man from Lang. Thank you very much for joining me today. On today's episode, Roland Banks is going for a ride on the Reading Railroad. Did I say Reading Railroad? I mean a much more terrifying railroad, the Essex County Express. That's right, the second Mythos pack in the Dunwich Legacy cycle finally arrived at my friendly local game store, and I am ready to play it for you today. I am face checking this, so apologies for any mistakes that I make, and spoilers throughout if you care about that sort of thing. We are going to jump right into the game. We have the game set up here with Roland Banks. We have the train car set up. We have the engine car here at the front. And then we have 6 train cars that we will have to investigate. The train car, train cars are connected to the location to the left and right of it, and you cannot enter a train car unless all of the clues on the location to its left have been discovered. So you need to go through the train cars, investigating them one at a time, picking up all the clues, and getting to the engine car as quickly as possible. Roland Banks here, he starts off at the leftmost train car, which is a passenger car. It is a 1-shroud location with 3 clues per investigator, and it has the forced effect: after you enter passenger car, you must either discard cards from your hand with at least 2 total agility icons or take 2 damage. Fortunately, we ignore the forced effect on the starting location, so we don't have to worry about that. Our agenda is a terror in reality. As the train to Dunwich comes to a jarring stop, you look out the window behind you and see an immense tear in the sky, like a rip in a piece of cloth. Several of the rearmost train cars are pulled backwards, and there is a dreadful metallic crush as they are detached. The train cars topple upwards and into the sky, into the rift in the sky. Nearby passengers are panicking, others are cowering in their seats, and one elderly man has fainted in fear, and it has a doom threshold of 4. Our act is run. The train has stopped on a bridge high above the Miskatonic River. You might be able to survive the fall, but you don't like your chances. Your best bet is to make your way to the engine car as fast as you can and get the train running again. And it has the objective: if an investigator enters the engine car, immediately advance. So we know what our objective is. We need to get to this engine car as quickly as possible in order to advance to the next act. We are playing the Essex County Express on standard difficulty. The skull token is -X, and X is the current agenda number. There are 5 agendas in the deck, so that will become progressively painful as the agendas advance. The cultist is a -1, and if you fail and it is your turn, you lose all remaining actions and your turn ends immediately. The tablet is a -2, add 1 doom token to the nearest cultist enemy. And the Elder Thing is a -3. If you fail, choose and discard a card from your hand. Now, as part of the setup, depending on your difficulty, you add a token to the Chaos bag for the rest of the campaign. Since we are playing on standard difficulty, I have added a -3 token to the Chaos bag, which we will have for the remainder of the game. We do not have any Elder Thing tokens because we did not cheat in the House Always Wins, and Roland did not take the Necronomicon in the Miskatonic Museum. We are ready to begin. Roland's going to draw his opening hand, and we will see how we do here. Roland gets a Working the Hunch, a cover-up, another Working the Hunch, an Evidence, and a Guts. Obviously, we will get rid of the cover-up. We're going to get rid of one of the Working the Hunches and the Guts. We'll keep the Evidence, and we will draw 3 cards here. We get a vicious blow, another evidence, and an unexpected courage. We will shuffle those back into our deck. And we are ready to begin. So this Roland deck prefers to be killing enemies to gather its clues, but we want to get to this engine car as quickly as we can. So we are going to start by doing some investigating. It's a 3 versus 1. Let's see how we do. We get a -2, so we grab a clue. We will do it again. That is the skull. It is a -1, so we grab another clue. And our final one is a -2, so we grab all 3 clues on our first turn. We will get a resource and draw a card, which is our 45 automatic. That's great to see. We will add a doom to our agenda and draw an encounter card, which is an Ancient Evils. Place 1 doom on the current agenda and it can cause the agenda to advance. So things are speeding up here. We go to Roland's next turn. Roland can move if he wishes, which I think we will do. Let's move to the next train car. We will flip that over. It is a passenger car. It is a 3 shroud location with 2 clues per investigator. And it has the forced effect. After you enter passenger car, you must either discard cards from your hand with at least 2 total intellect icons or take 2 horror. That will be an easy decision. We will discard the evidence, one of our evidence, in order to avoid that effect. There are 2 clues there, and it is a 3 shroud location. I think what we're going to do for our second action is get our gun into play, and it has 4 ammo. Now we could really use a flashlight or something if we want to deal with this passenger car. So we're going to draw a card and see what happens here. We get a guts. So we will gain a resource and draw a card, which is an overpower. We will add 1 doom to our agenda and draw an encounter card. And it is another Ancient Evils. Oh dear. Alright, well that is going to advance our our agenda. So we will add another doom and we will flip it. Agenda 1B is keep moving. The rearmost car of the train detaches as it is pulled backwards. To your horror, it rises off the tracks and is consumed by the gate above you. Remove the leftmost location from the game or place it in the victory display if it has victory X and no clues on it. Each investigator at that location is defeated. Each enemy and asset at that location is discarded. Discard all clues controlled by the investigators. So we lose all 3 of our clues, which is fine. And we remove this train car from the game. And that is all for now. So we advance to Agenda 2A, which is the maw widens. The tear grows larger, and you can feel the rearmost cars of the train shaking as it pulls backwards. The situation threatens to erupt into chaos as more passengers realize the danger they are in. Some passengers are looking for places to hide, while others are running about the compartments in terror. And it has a doom threshold of 3. That was our encounter card, so Roland will continue his journey here. This is a good question. I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to play the working the hunch in order to grab one of the clues. First of all, so we will spend 2 resources to discover one clue on our location. And we need to get the second one somehow. We could take a 3. Roland can discard this unexpected courage as his first action, and we can do a 5 versus 3. So we will see how that goes. He gets the Elder Sign, which is +1 for each clue on his location. He succeeds. We get that clue as our first action. We will move as our second action to the next train car, and we will flip it over. It is a dining car. It is a 2-shroud location with 0 clues. Dining car is connected to the locations to the left and right of it, and it has the forced effect. After you reveal dining car, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a grappling horror and draw it. So we need to go and get ourselves a grappling horror. And we have a grappling horror right here. We will shuffle that up. The grappling horror is a 3 fight, 3 life, 2 agility monster abomination. It is a hunter, and while you are engaged with the grappling horror, you cannot move. So he is engaged with us. That was our second action. As our third action, we can take a shot at that thing and quite possibly kill it if we succeed. So we will ditch the vicious blow and the overpower. So we are a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versus 3 with our gun, and we get a -2, so we succeed. The grappling horror takes 3 damage and it dies, so that is good. Roland will draw a card for the overpower. He gets a physical training, and we will get a resource and draw some cards. He gets another working the hunch. We will add a doom to the maw widens and draw an encounter card, which is a cultist. It says spawn the cultist on any empty location after the acolyte. Spawn the acolyte on an empty location. After he enters play, place 1 doom on it. So we really don't want this thing hanging around for long. We will spawn it at this train car, and we need to place a doom on it. We will go to our next turn. Roland is going to move, first of all, as his first action. He will move to this train car. It is the sleeping car. It is a 4-shroud location with 1 clue, and it has the action gain 3 resources. Remember that you have stolen a passenger's luggage. Group limit once per game, so we can gain 3 resources. But we need to remember that we stole a passenger's luggage. I'm not going to be stealing any passenger's luggage if I can help it. So we have this cultist to deal with. He is a 3 fight versus our 5 at the moment if we use our gun. So we will spend an ammo. we will go 5 versus 3. And we draw the tentacle, of course, because the tentacle always knows when you need to make a key test. So that was our second action. As our third action, we will spend another resource and take another shot at it. And we draw the tentacle again. Back-to-back tentacles. Oh my dear. That's terrible. Alright, well, this is going to advance our agenda, unfortunately, because of that. That is incredibly unfortunate. Well, we will get a resource first and draw a card, which is a guts. We add a doom, which will advance our agenda to 2B, so we will flip this over, which is don't stop. The next train car is ripped backwards with violent force. A middle-aged man hangs from his fingertips as the car flies unhindered toward the rift. In moments, the car is consumed whole, and the man lets go rather than be pulled into the void. He starts to fall, but is caught by the rift's force and pulled inside anyway. And it has the game text, remove the leftmost location from the game or place it in the victory display if it has victory X and no clues on it. Each investigator at that location is defeated. Each enemy and asset at that location is discarded. Discard all clues controlled by the investigators. So we will get rid of our clues. We will remove this passenger car from the game. And we will advance to Agenda 3A. This is an extremely fast scenario so far. Agenda 3A is rolling backwards. The pull of the rift in the sky seems to be growing stronger, and the entire train begins to roll backwards along the tracks. The rearmost cars of the train begin to rattle, the force of the rift threatening to detach them. You must get out of these cars as fast as you can. And it has a doom threshold of 4. Alright, we need to draw an encounter card for Roland, and it is Claws of Steam. Test 3 willpower. If you fail, take 2 damage, and you cannot move from this location this round. Damage from this effect must be assigned to your assets first, if able. Roland has a willpower of 3, and he has a guts, which we will discard to make him a 5 versus a 3. Let's see how we do. We get a -3, which is a failure. So we take 2 damage, and we cannot move from this location this round. We remove this doom, fortunately, from the cultist. We have 1 shot remaining in our gun. We needed to take a damage from the cultist's attack. We forgot to do that last turn, so we will do that now. So Roland has taken 3 damage. I guess we will spend our final resource on our gun to give him a 5-3. Let's see how we do, and we get an Elder Sign. So that is +1 for each clue, so the cultist dies. And we will use Roland's special ability. After you defeat an enemy, discover 1 clue at your location. So we will discover the clue at the sleeping car. So we cannot move this turn. That was our first action. I'm going to spend 2 resources to play our physical training. And I will use our third action to draw a card, which is Dynamite Blast. We will gain a resource and a card, which is our level 2 version of Beat Cop. We will add a Doom and draw an encounter card, which is another acolyte. So we will place him at an empty location. Might as well be the next train car, because that's where we're headed. We will add a Doom there. So unless we kill him, we're going to be advancing to the 4th agenda. We don't have a whole lot of time. Alright. Back to Roland. Let's see. We don't have a weapon, which is kind of annoying. We do have our physical training. We could loot to gain 3. We could steal a passenger's luggage to gain 3 resources. I don't know what stealing a passenger's luggage will do to us in the end, so I'm a little wary of that. But I think what we will do is just move. We will keep on moving here. We will move to the next train car, which we will flip. It is a passenger car. It is a 1 shroud location with 1 clue per investigator. And it has the game text, after you enter passenger car, you must either discard a card from your hand with at least 1 wild icon or take 1 damage and 1 horror. I do not have any wild icons, so I will be taking a damage and a horror. Whoops. There we go. So there is only 1 clue here. That was our first action. If Roland can kill this acolyte, we can grab this clue and possibly move to the next train car this turn. So Roland is going to take a swing at him. We will spend 1 resource to get +1 fight from physical training. That will put us at a 5 versus 3 of the acolyte. Let's see how we do. And we draw the tentacle again. Oh dear me. That's the 3rd tentacle trying to kill an acolyte. These acolytes are tough. They just don't want to go down today. That was our second action. I guess we'll do it again because we really want to get rid of this acolyte. 5 versus 3. And we fail. So we will take another damage from the acolyte this combat round. We will draw a resource and a card. We get our flashlight. We will add a Doom. So there are 3 Doom versus 4, and we will draw an encounter card, which is the Wizard of the Order. Spawn at any empty location. He has Retaliate, and at the end of the Mythos phase, place 1 Doom on the Wizard of the Order. Now, where do we put him? It looks like we're going to advance next turn whether we want to or not, so I'm going to put him in the dining car, and hopefully he will be sucked away. So Roland has 2 locations to get to the engine car. It's going to be close, so let us take another swipe at this acolyte. 5 versus 3. We get the +1, so the acolyte will die, and we will use Roland's special ability to grab that clue. That was his first action. As his second action, he will move to the next train car. It is a passenger car. It is a 4 shroud location with 1 clue per investigator. and it has the forced effect. After you enter passenger car, you must either discard 2 cards from your hand with at least 2 total fight icons or take 2 damage. Do we have 2 cards that have 2 total fight? We do not, so we will be forced to take 2 damage. We are at 7. There is 1 clue at this location. So we are close. So this is that was our second action. As our third action, we do not have the resources we need. So we are going to gain a resource so we can play Working a Hunch next turn and make a run for the engine car. Alright, so we will gain a resource and a card. That is an emergency cache. We will add a doom, which will advance us. So we will flip our agenda. It's getting faster! 2 of the train cars closest to the gate are severed from the rest of the train by a sheet of impossibly hot steam with slices through metal like a knife through butter. The cars are sucked upwards and fly into the gate. Something above the train lets out a terrible screech, though to your ears it sounds like the shrill sound of a broken steam pipe. It says remove each of the 2 leftmost locations from the game or place it in the victory display if either one has victory X and no clues on it. Each investigator at those locations is defeated. Each enemy and asset at those locations is discarded. Discard all clues controlled by the investigators. So our Wizard of the Order will disappear. Did we have any victory point locations over here that we got, or did we get none of them so far? Nope. Alright, so we remove the dining car and the sleeping car, it looks like. So both of those get removed from the game. And we advance to Agenda 4A. Agenda 4A is drawn in. The gate crackles with power as its strength increases. Dirt and rocks from the edge of the bridge behind you are torn from the ground, and trees are uprooted, pulled in by the gate. One younger passenger smashes the window of your car and shouts, "We gotta get out of here!" He leaps out of the window, but before he lands in the river below, he is snatched in the talons of a swift-flying creature and is carried out of sight. A trail of steam is left in the creature's wake, and this has a doom threshold of 3. We need to draw an encounter card, so let's see what we get. It is a Rotting Remains. We test 3. Willpower for each point we fail by, we take a horror. Roland is a 3. He will discard a Guts to make himself a 5 versus 3. And we get a 0. So Roland succeeds and draws a card. Roland will use his first action to play Working a Hunch, which is fast, so it doesn't cost him an action. He will grab that clue. As his first action, he will move to the engine car. And we will flip it. It is a 4-shroud location with 2 clues. Engine car is connected to the location to the left of it, and it is worth 1 victory point. If an investigator enters the engine car, we immediately advance. So we will advance to Act 1B. 1B is Wings of Steam. The investigator entering the engine car reads the following. A tender car filled with coal blocks your way to the engine cab. Swallowing your fear, you climb out of the nearby window and clamber onto the roof of the train, making your way across the tender car. The steady backward motion of the train makes it difficult for you to keep your footing. As you get close, a winged creature swoops down from above, its body composed of piping hot steam. You must decide, choose one. Test 3 agility to attempt to dodge the creature. If you fail, you leap too far and barely grip the side of the train, hanging on for dear life. Although you manage to pull yourself up, the experience is terrifying. You suffer 1 mental trauma. Or test 3 fight to attempt to endure the creature's extreme heat. If you fail, the creature flies through you and the heat burns you. You suffer 1 physical trauma. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of either of those things. Obviously, the strength one is our best bet. With a 4 versus 3, we will pitch the beat cop to make it a 5 versus 3. That is all we can do at this time. So we will see how we do. Chaos Bag. Chaos Bag gives us a -3. That addition of the -3 to the Chaos Bag is really hurting. So we take another damage. We are at 8. But we do advance. He suffers 1 physical trauma, so we do advance to our final act. Act 2A. Get the engine running. You've managed to make it to the engine cab, but now you have to get the engine started again so you can outrun the pulling force of the gate. If there are no clues in the engine car, immediately advance. So there are 2 clues there. It is a 4-shroud location. That was our first action, so we have 2 actions left. We are going to spend our first action to play the emergency cache to gain 3 resources. And we will spend our third action to spend 2 of those resources for a flashlight, which has 3 supplies. So, if the Chaos Bag cooperates with us, we could be in a position to beat this next turn. So, it's going to be tricky though, because that's a 4 versus a 2. We do have a couple cards we can discard if need be. So let's see what we get here. We will add a clue or a resource and draw a card, which is Dr. Francis Morgan. We will add 1 doom to drawn in, and our encounter card is Mysterious Chanting. Place 2 doom on the nearest cultist enemy. If there are no cultist enemies in play, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy and draw it. So we will go a hunting for a cultist. So we need a cultist. There is an acolyte. The acolyte, we will put him in this passenger car. We need to add a doom to him. We need to shuffle our deck up again. And we are ready for our turn, I believe. So that is going to, our agenda is going to advance to 5A next turn. So it's now or never, Roland. Roland is going to pitch one of his supplies from the flashlight to make it a 2. We will discard an evidence to make him a, that is 3, 4, 5 versus 2. Let's see how we do. We get a skull, which is a -4. Oh man. 5 minus 2 is So we fail. Well, that is terrible. We will discard another clue and we'll pitch cards. We will pitch Dr. Morgan and our other flashlight to make him a 5 versus 2. And that's another -4. Oh, Roland. Roland. And yeah, I don't like our chances. The Chaos Bag has really hit us pretty hard here. 2 -4s in a row. I guess as our third action we'll draw a card, which gives us an unexpected courage. Oh boy, it's not looking good. So we will get a resource and a card, which is our weakness, internal injury. We will take 1 direct damage at the end of our turn, next turn, which will kill us. So we so we will add a doom, which will flip us again. Nowhere is safe. The 2 rearmost train cars begin to melt as they are filled with superheated steam. The metal warps and the passengers inside scream in agony. The cars are ripped from the train tracks along with rail slats and chunks of the bridge behind you. Remove each of the 2 leftmost locations from the game, or place it in the victory display if either one has a victory X on it and no clues. Each investigator at those locations is defeated. Each enemy and asset at those locations is discarded. And we discard all clues on investigators. The acolyte goes away, and these 2 get discarded. So it is just Roland left in the train car, in the engine car. And we advance to Agenda 5A, out of time. The rift in the sky twists and shakes, completely distorted. Its size is now massive, its shape warping and shifting as if it is about to explode. And that has a doom threshold of 3. Well, Roland has to draw an encounter card, which is a Terror from Beyond, which is the choose a card type one. We have a skill and an event, so I will choose asset. That will have no effect on him. So Roland is in a terrible position here. We need to get rid of the internal injury first of all, so we will take 2 actions. As our third action, do we ditch the unexpected courage and just go for it? It would be a 5 versus 4. Save the flashlight for next turn. 5 versus 4. +1. So our that pays off. We get a clue, and that is it. So we get a resource and a card, which is a vicious blow. We add a doom and draw an encounter card, which is the Claws of Steam again. So if we fail this, we will die. That is terrible. Fortunately, we have quite a few resources. So we are going to test 3. He is a 3, but we are going to discard our Dynamite Blast to make him a 4. We will discard 1 resource to make him a 5, 6, 7. So we'll be doing a 7 versus 3. And we get the skull, which is a -5. Oh no! Well, that's the end of the game. Roland dies. That is terrible. We were one turn away from possibly winning this game. That is a -5. If I had spent that, I had forgotten that that was a possibility. Well, that's my mistake. I should have spent that last resource in order to make sure that we weren't going to die that turn. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to see how we would have done if we'd spent our last flashlight resource. So that would have been a 3 versus 2, and we would have maybe succeeded. So yeah, Roland falls short of beating the Essex County Express by a hair here with the skull token. He drew a lot of really inopportune tentacles, and certainly the skulls didn't help. The Chaos Bag certainly is a lot more difficult in this because of the -X from the skull token and adding that -3 in. So that is a loss. Roland will take 2 physical trauma from this, 1 from advancing to 1B from Wings of Steam, and 1 from failing. So I don't know what resolution that is. It can't be good. So that is going to do it for the Essex County Express. If you enjoyed this playthrough, leave me a thumbs up. If you notice that I did anything wrong, please leave a comment. If you'd like to be notified when I add additional content, please hit the subscribe button. This has been The Whisper in Darkness this is Man from Leng wishing you happy investigating.